Welcome to our panel discussion about critical thinking and equity as a math initiative turns 5. During the fall of 2016, we introduced an alternative, less time, less money, developmental math pathway for students pursuing less math-intensive educational objectives. One term and one course, instead of the gold standard, 2 course, 2 semesters, sequence for math-intensive majors. This was not a small undertaking, and the aspirations were high. It was important to position this not as a criticism of the proud developmental math tradition, but an enhancement of the same. It could not include all of the content of the 2-course sequence, but had to include the correct and sufficient content, not only for subsequent math courses, but also for social, behavioral, and natural sciences and CTE curricula, which had it as a prerequisite. What should stay in and what should be left out? A critical question. Was it possible to introduce additional critical thinking group projects into the delivery as well as technology elements? And could this genuinely increase the equity efficacy of our developmental math program? And, importantly, how are the proper students advised and channeled into such a course? My freshman colleagues on the panel were frontline student-facing pioneers in this multi-year effort and will be key players at point in subsequent time slots. I asked them to reflect and discuss their experiences involving critical thinking, equity, and technology in the setting, and to speculate about the future, and to respond to your questions. Please allow a personal, concise flyover of similar topics. Whether math-intensive students or not, we are charged with helping our students be socially conscious and informed world citizens. My favorite critical thinking group projects involve such considerations. The Paris Climate Accord also is 5 years old. This international effort attempts to stem global warming by targeting CO2 concentrations, which in November 2020 hit a world record of 415 parts per million. Nature's way of controlling this involves photosynthesis, wherein CO2 is recycled into oxygen. Rainforests in Brazil, for example, are major natural engines for the CO2 conversion into oxygen that we breathe. But these rainforests are being cleared for pastures for cattle grazing, and the cattle are then raised for beef exports worldwide. So the first question was this: how much Brazil rainforest is compromised so you can consume a grass-fed quarter-pound Brazil beef hamburger? And how does that area compare to our Vic classroom? Now, there are many other factors, and the second question addresses one of these. The daily carbon dioxide emissions from O'Hare takeoffs cancels out what amount of Brazil rainforest daily carbon dioxide recycling, and what fraction of DuPage County land area is this? Critical thinking is as difficult as it is important. It is difficult for the students and for the instructors. This is a recreation of an actual event I observed wherein a tiny matron argued fearlessly with a COD football star during a break about their project. In fact, this class was composed almost entirely of COD student athletes and matrons returning to the workforce. Both groups are in a hurry, and both groups, in this case, were not bound for math-intensive careers. Technology is both useful and dangerous. It is best learned by using it. It must be available, and it must be supported. And preparedness is very unequal. It'll take time, and results will vary dramatically. Lastly, looking to the future, my crystal ball is cloudy. The signal-to-noise ratio is very small. Rapid change is inevitable. I don't know much, but this I believe. There's not a silver bullet. Solutions must be student-focused and very responsive, and it cannot be rendered in a full-time math silo. Collaboration across many constituencies is required. It won't be easy, but it is worth it. Let's listen to the experts before closing with your Q&A.